Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. If you love anime, heartfelt reactions, and deep dives into symbolism and themes, then you're in the right place. Before we jump into today's reaction, don't forget to hit that like button to show some love, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of fun. And if you want even more exclusive content like early access to my reactions, full length anime watch alongs, and an amazing community of fellow anime lovers, then please do check out my Patreon. You can find a link in the description box below. Your support truly means the world as it helps to keep these reactions coming, and I'd love to have you join our cozy little anime family. Today, we're reacting to episode 20 of series 4 of Attack on Titan, and Eren got decapitated and ended up in this weird in-between pathway space with Zeke. So my mic muted me and I have lost a lot of my intro. So if I don't mention something here, it's probably because I mentioned it when I was rambling and I've lost it. So I'm just going to try pick up where I left off, or where the audio left off, which was talking about how the rumbling is going to happen because Zeke and Eren have smashed heads together. There was that spark of electricity, and we now know that Zeke needed Eren as the key for him to be able to control Ymir. Eren has no power. It's Zeke that holds all the power here, because when Eren tried to control Ymir, she didn't listen. She only listens to Zeke because Zeke has the royal blood, which is in reverse to when he touched Dina. But that could be because Dina was a pure Titan. So Dina didn't really have the ability to control the situation in the same way that Zeke does, because Zeke is an intelligent Titan. And I thought it was because he was of the royal blood that wasn't descended from Karl Fritz. He's from a separate branch of the same family. Karl Fritz's line ends with Historia, and then obviously Historia's child. There's obviously other branches of the royal family, which is where Zeke and Dina come from. So I thought the workaround was that because he's not from the line that made the vow, he's not bound by the vow, but he still needs Eren to gain access to the founding Titan to then order and control her to enact his wishes and his desires. But Eren has no power because she is gravitating to Zeke as a member of the royal bloodline. That they couldn't use Ymir essentially other than to uphold the vow. But because he's of a different branch of the royal bloodline, he also doesn't hold the founding titan, so he's not bound by the vow, even if the vow applied to him. It may still apply to him, I don't know. So Eren was just the key to access Ymir for his own devices, for his own will, which is so strange because the whole show's kind of been hinged on Eren gaining control through touching Zeke, whereas this is now the reverse of the situation, which could be Zeke's way of manipulating Eren by not telling Eren that actually he would have no power. It's all on Zeke. Zeke is the person that will be in control, that will be ordering Ymir around, because even Eren thought that he would now have control over the founder and was shocked when she just completely ignored him. And Zeke was like, yeah, because you don't have the royal blood, and I found a workaway around this vow, so she only answers to me. She's a slave to the royal bloodline. And then that's when he calls Eren the key. Eren is the key for Zeke to have access to the founder to enact his abilities. Because again, from a different bloodline, not from Karl Fritz's line, but also doesn't hold the founding titan, so isn't locked by the vow of the founding titan that's been passed from generation to generation, but still has access to Ymir and the pathways through touching Eren as the founder. So the royal bloodline touches someone who is holding the founding titan that's not of the royal bloodline, gains access to Ymir that way, and is able to control her that way because the vow is not applicable to him because he's not in possession of the founding titan. But also could be because again he's not from the same bloodline as Karl Fritz. But it most likely is to do with the fact that Zeke isn't the founding titan. He doesn't hold that ability. So therefore he's not bound by the vow, but because he's of the royal bloodline, he can work around it. When it came to Dina, maybe with Dina it's because she was a pure titan and therefore it didn't work the same way. The founding titan in Eren recognized the royal blood and therefore enacted Eren's wishes. But because Dina wasn't existing in this in-between space with Eren, it confused Dina's blood with Eren's and therefore allowed Eren to use the abilities. Whereas now, because Zeke is in the pathways with Eren, has gained access to the pathways and direct access to Ymir through Eren as the key, it won't listen to Eren because it's only honed on Zeke as the royal bloodline, as having the royal blood. So that's probably where the difference comes in, is that Dina wasn't in this in-between space. It confused Dina's blood with Eren's and allowed Eren to use it. Whereas now, when Ymir is confronted with Zeke existing in this pathway through Eren as the key to that access, she just completely ignores and bypasses Eren because he doesn't have the right blood that she's locked into. It's all a bit confusing, I won't lie. Like, I have tried to understand it the best that I can in terms of what I've been shown, but I won't lie and say that it is not a bit confusing at times. But I ask you guys to please refrain from over explaining or holding my hand. Let me figure it out. Let the show tell me. I would prefer it that way. If I do have any questions or still have some confusion after the show ends, I will open up a space for people to tell me their thoughts, their theories, and their understanding of things. But for the time being, I do ask you to respectfully hold back, refrain a little bit from explaining things to me, because sometimes the explaining can also then spoil other things because it is a little too detailed and makes it too easy to put things together. So I ask you to just refrain from it a little bit, just allow the show to explain things to me. And if the show doesn't explain things to me, allow me to try and figure it out. That's part of the fun of a first time watch, is watching someone be wrong and watching them try and figure things out. If you just hold my hand and tell me, that kind of ruins the fun. So again, respectfully ask you to refrain from telling me or explaining how it all works. Let me figure it out. Let the show explain. And if the show doesn't explain and I end the series and I still have questions and I'm still confused, we can maybe have a live stream and we can talk about Attack on Titan, and I can voice some of these questions and I can read your answers and we can have a conversation about it. I think that might be a fun thing to do. I may just do that for a Q&A anyway, if anyone wants to ask me any questions on my thoughts in relation to Attack on Titan before we move on to a new series. I may just do a live stream and we can just air that all out. I think it could be quite fun. But I will also use that space to discuss anything that I am still confused by, that I didn't think the show really clarified for me. So please hold any explanations until that point. As for now, allow the show to tell me or allow me to try and figure things out for myself. But thank you so, so much for the love and support. We're in the final 12 episodes of Attack on Titan, and I'm still not sure what I'm watching after this is done. But without further ado, let's get into episode 20, because I have talked enough and I just want to see what happens this episode. I'm kind of hoping for the rumbling because I can't quite fathom what that's going to look like. I know that it involves colossal titans within the walls, but the idea of it, like comprehending it, feels almost insane because the devastation and destruction it's going to cause is irreversible. You can't come back from this. And artistically, I think it's going to be done extremely well. And the OST so far has been absolutely phenomenal. So I'm hoping it continues to stay this strong. But yes, we're going to get into episode 20. It's ominously quiet. Why is it so ominously quiet? Is baby Eren? Is baby Eren? It is baby Eren.
一体何がしたい？お前がわかるまで見せてやる。グリシャ・イエーガーがいかにして息子を洗脳し、お前に民族主義を植え付けたのか。
So they've gone
わ
back.
かるまで何度も。
He's trying to convince Eren into seeing himself as a victim.
よかったな、グリシャ。ここじゃ一
That
回目の
must
家
be
族を
so
一切
hard
忘
for
れて
Zeke.
幸せを享受するあんたを誰も咎めない。以前も息子がいたことを
Yeah.
一切忘れてもな。
Acting as if he's never held a baby before or knows
Exact-
what to do with a baby. Oh, his mom. Oh, he's so cute. This must be so hard for Zeke.
次だ。
he's he's gonna keep going through these memories, isn't he? Like one by one, and he's not gonna see what he thinks he's seeing. He's not gonna see the Grisha that he's convinced, manipulated, and groomed Eren into becoming a nationalist symbol and for Grisha's own ambition. He is looking for that and he's not seeing that. He's seeing Grisha being an active, loving father, which must be incredibly hard for him because this isn't the man that he experienced. He didn't experience this loving side of Grisha. He experienced Grisha treating him as nothing more than a means to an end, as something to be discarded when he couldn't live up to that ambition, when he couldn't live up to that goal. He wasn't treated like a son, wasn't treated like a child. But also seeing Grisha almost seeming ignorant as to how to hold a baby or how to take care of baby. You have to wonder, his struggling to hold baby Eren and like not knowing what to do with him when he's crying. Is that because he wasn't as actively involved with Zeke as a baby, that he genuinely doesn't know what to do around a baby? Did he maybe only start to show interest in Zeke when Zeke was older and when he was able to actually understand what Grisha wanted of him, what was expected of him to be the sole savior of Marley? Because that seems to be what it's indicating. I don't think Grisha is feigning or faking for Carla's sake that he never had another family. He genuinely looks like he doesn't know what to do with a baby. So symbolically, that could just be the way of showing that Grisha never really was actively involved with Zeke, even from the moment that he was born. He only really actively showed interest with him when he was old enough to kind of be manipulated and groomed, versus this image of Grisha, which is holding Eren, taking care of Eren, basking in his affection, loving on him in a way that Zeke never experienced. To the point that like Zeke is like the next one because this memory doesn't serve his purpose of showing that Eren is a victim. He wants Eren to be convinced that Grisha made him a victim too, that Grisha's brainwashed him, that Grisha's used him. And I don't think he's going to get the results that he's expecting. I think he's just harming himself in the process. He's so convinced that Eren is a victim, but I don't think Eren is a victim of Grisha. Zeke is a victim of Grisha, but I don't think Eren is. Because Grisha seems to have learned from his mistakes. He's learned from the past because the owl convinced him essentially to concentrate on having a family, concentrate on loving someone within the walls so as to not repeat the mistakes of the past. And we see him actively do that. And again, I'm still of that perspective that Eren has manipulated Grisha somehow into passing down the abilities, because we know that the owl had mentioned Mikasa and Armin. The only person that would know that is Eren. So I'm still of the understanding that Eren from the future has transmitted memories to the owl, who then transmitted those memories to Grisha, who has those memories before Eren's even born in the present, and that is what convinces him to pass the abilities on to Eren. Because I don't think, based on what we've seen of Grisha, that he would want Eren to undergo the same emotional turmoil and expectations that Zeke underwent, that he wouldn't want to condemn Eren to that because that's just replicating the mistakes of the past. But this must be so hard for Eren, somewhat, because he's seeing his mother alive, he's seeing these fond memories with his father. But Zeke as well, because he's not seeing the monster that he expected Grisha to be when it came to Eren. He's seeing what he wanted Grisha to be for him. What he wanted from Grisha back in Marley is not what he got, but it's what Eren got. It's really sad. Eren is the son that Grisha would have wanted in Marley, and Zeke is the son that Grisha would have wanted in Paradise. It very much seems to be that Eren would have been the ideal son for Marley Grisha, and Zeke would have been the ideal son for Paradise Grisha, but unfortunately that's not how things have planned out. So we see Zeke watching Eren get the father that he always wanted. And that must be so devastating to see and experience and watch, knowing that this is the father you could have had, but he was so blindsided by his own ambition, his own means to an end, that he never saw you as anything more than a weapon. He never saw you as a son. I really hope Zeke gets some closure in terms of the going back through Grisha's memories, and that maybe they stumble across Grisha, maybe feeling guilt for what he did to Zeke, maybe wishing he could have done things differently, I really want Zeke to get some form of closure. I just don't think he's going to get any. And I think this is just going to make things 10 times worse for him.
見ろエレン。これが奴の正体だ。医者の肩書きを利用して権力者にすり寄り出したぞ。当然しくじれば妻も息子もただじゃ済まない。だがその
God,
危
the
険を冒
music.
し続ける。なぜだかわかるか。
このクソ親父はエルディア復権のためなら妻子をクソダメに捨てるよう
I
な
don't
ク
think
ソ野郎
Eren
だから
fully believes that, does he?
幻滅した。俺は間違ってた。生まれるべきじゃなかった。洗脳が解けたよ。
時間は無限にある。焦らなくていい。
I don't believe that Eren buys that. Harness! Like, I believe it's true to an extent, but I think he genuinely did care for Eren and Carla.
まさかこんなに早く突き止めていたなんて。
そんなはずはない。グリシャが始祖を奪ったのは壁が破壊された
He
日のはず。
didn't.
まだ何年も先だ。
Because he didn't want to put Carla and Eren in harm's way. Oh, I'm gonna cry. He withheld. I said this, that he could have taken it far sooner than he did, and he didn't do it. Because Eren and Carla meant the world to him to the extent that he just couldn't bring himself to do it. He's not the monster that Zeke wants him to be in Eren's life. He was for Zeke, but not for Eren.
俺とはまるで大違いだな。さすがに前回の失敗を踏まえているようだ。だが実際お前は父親の都合通りに動いている。
He still kept that picture, so he must have regretted what he did.
ごめんな、ジーク。ジーク。ジーク。
He sees him?
そこにいるのか。
What the fuck? He can see him.
バカか。ジークがあんなヒゲ面おじさんなわけないだろ。ただの夢だ。
I'm so confused.
これは次の記憶だ。ジーク。
We're what, like 5 minutes in? Get it together. Breathe. This is ridiculous. Stop. I think as soon as he mentioned Zeke's name and the fact that he still had the picture on his desk, he still held on to that picture, so he obviously regretted what he did enough to not make the same mistakes, which I had said in previous episodes. I believe it was episode 16 or 17, that he could have taken it far sooner than when he did, because he was building all this information for a while and he didn't, for a reason, because he didn't want to put his family at risk. He could have done all of this far sooner and he didn't, and he beseeched them to enact, to break the vow, to protect their people, so he didn't have to take the founding titan, and he didn't do it. And that's only when he then takes the founding titan is because they point blank refuse, and he knows he has no other choice. He has to do this. How does he see Zeke? I don't get it. How does he see Zeke standing there? And the fact that he's apologizing to Zeke even in his dreams because he regrets what he did. He knows what he did is wrong. He's learned his lesson. I still think the Grisha in Marley was a shit father. Didn't deserve to be a father to Zeke. But it's so heart-wrenching to see Zeke almost get the closure that he's wanted. That Grisha isn't the monster in Eren's life that he wants him to be. And that must be hard for him because he experienced the monster that Grisha can be. And he never got to see this other side to him. And Eren got that other side. Eren got to be the son that experienced love and care and a father that was present and active and wanted to delay putting him in harm's way. Whereas Zeke didn't have that. Zeke never got that. Zeke was treated as a weapon, as replaceable, as somebody that they didn't care how long he lived, so long as he gained the founding titan ability. They didn't care that they were only dooming their son to 13 years. They didn't care that he would live a short life. They just saw him as a means to an end, a weapon to be used, and Eren wasn't viewed that way. Eren wasn't seen as something to be weaponized. But he also doesn't have the royal blood, so that probably changes his perspective somewhat. But I think it does come down to Grisha having a change of heart, Grisha realizing he can't replicate the mistakes of the past. He can't enforce his ideology onto his son and expect his son to love him, that he has to treat him like a child, has to treat him like a son rather than as a means to an end, a goal to be achieved. I think the differences in behavior do come down to the fact that Eren isn't of the royal bloodline. He can't control the founding titan. Therefore, he's not as valuable in terms of being used or weaponized like Zeke is, but it still doesn't justify the treatment that Zeke experienced at Grisha's hands. It doesn't justify it. Zeke still deserved to have an active father, still deserved to have a father that was present in his life, that treated him like a son and not as a weapon. He deserved to have what Eren had, and that's the truly painful thing about this, is that he never got that. But he also believed that Eren never got that either. He believes that Eren experienced what he experienced, but that's not the case. I'm just emotionally destroyed already. I don't know how I'm going to handle this episode if I'm already emotionally brutalized by the first 5 minutes. And Eren is going, okay, next memory, but how is Grisha seeing Zeke? Because he's received memories of Zeke from the future back, but it still wouldn't explain how, as they're going through the memories, he can see him stood right there, like he can glimpse him. It's strange. It's weird. It's like weird time travel stuff. I don't get it.
お前はもう9歳になるな。グリシャはお前を愛し、自由に育てた。
Memories of the future. So then this is memories from the future coming back to the present, right?
だから無駄だと言った。何年も親父の記憶をさまよう前にな。
だとしたら、なぜお前は俺を裏切った？
Because he doesn't believe in what you believe
父親に何も知らさ
in.
れぬまま、巨人を継承させられ、父親の望み通り戦い続けている。始祖の力を使ってどうするつもりだったんだ？
俺は
His eyes are
生まれた
weird.
時から俺のままだ。
Even Zeke's like, what the
俺
fuck,
とあ
man?
んたが同じだと思ってたようだが、間違っている。
He's always been someone that's opposed
他人から
being a
自由を
slave.
奪われるくらいなら、俺はそいつから自由を奪う。親父が俺をそうしたわけじゃない。
He's always been that way.
俺は生まれた時からこうだった。あんたが望んだ哀れな弟はどこにもいない。あんたの心の傷を分かち合う都合のいい弟も。ただここにいるのは、父親の望んだエルディア復権を否定し続けることでしか、死んだ父親に囚われたままの哀
Damn,
れな
Eren.
男だ。
この父親の行いが息子を目覚めさせ、エルディアの危機から世界を救うのだから、ある意味、世界を救ったのはこの父親だ。
Oh. Which just proves he's
Eren.
never hated
始祖の
Magada.
巨
He
人の力
lied.
は俺の手の中だ。安楽死計画はいつでも遂行できる。俺はお前を決して見捨てない。草葉さんが俺にそうしてくれたように、世界を救う前に、たった一人のお前を救いたいん
And
だ。
what?
人類は滅んでなどいないか。大層な遺言を残してくれたもんだ。
The key that haunted us for how many seasons? 2.5. Oh, Carla.
耳が赤かった。嘘ついた証拠。ミカサに手伝ってもらったのね。
It's so sad to watch.
あれ父さん出かけるの？
I get emotional whenever I see Carla because, like, you know what happens to her. She was in like one episode essentially, and she haunts the narrative.
壁の外に出た人類がどれだけ死んだか分かってるの？
分かってるよ。
だったら
エレン、どうして外に出たいんだ？
知りたいんだ。外の世界がどうなっているのか。
Just like Grisha wanted to do as a child.
一生壁の中で過ごすなんて嫌だ。それにここで誰も続く人がいなかったら今までに死んだ人たちの命が無駄になる。
ちょっとあなた、エレンを説得して。
カルラ、人間の探求心とは誰かに言われて抑えられるものではないよ。エレン、帰ったらずっと秘密にしていた地下室を見せてやろう。
He's looking at him.
本当にいってらっしゃい。
He sees Eren.
私は壁の外から来たエルディア人。あなた方と同じユミルの民です。
A place where all paths intersect. Their time is both instant and infinite. He saw Eren in that moment when he was holding up the key. He saw Eren. He was looking at Eren. So he saw Zeke and he also saw Eren. He has to have received memories from the future in his present time for him to be able to have seen them and at least recognize them. I'm so confused by the way that time works in this show at the minute. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not very good with like time travel or like wonky timelines, things like that. It always throws me off. I can deal with like consecutive time, but time travel, different things happening at the same time as what's happening in the present but in the future, or like the same things happening in the past at the same time as the all that confuses me. So I'm gonna get confused on the timeline. I know that for a fact. I find it hard to follow when they start throwing in like the future comes back into the present and they knew all along about it. Like that's when my mind starts to wander because I'm like, wait, what? Like I don't know, my mind just doesn't work that way.
壁の王よ、今すぐ壁に攻めてきた巨人を殺してください。妻や子供たちが、壁の民が食われてしまう前に。
He knew the walls were going to be attacked before the walls were even attacked. But how did he know that? He had to have been told.
我々ユミルの民が裁かれる日が来たのです。
We actually hear what Frida
巨大な
responds
力
with.
に対し人はあまりにも弱い。
Well, not Frida,
誰かが
but
人の手から巨人の力を守らねばならないと。世界を守るためには我々は罪を受け入れ滅びゆくほかないのです。
あのお姉ちゃんとは気が合いそうだが、この一家はここでグリシャによって皆殺
because
しにされ
Grisha
る。
thinks everyone
お
deserves
前
a
はか
chance
つ
to
て
live.
この記憶を見たと言ったな。そして父親に深く失望した。あれも嘘だったの。
そこで妻と息子と娘と暮らしている。
He called my
そ
cousin
の
his
壁に住む
daughter.
人々は誰も先祖の犯した罪など知らない。ただ訳も分からず巨人に食われることが贖罪だというのか。
いいえ、我々がいくら反省したところで我々エルディア人が奪った人々の命を戻すことは
But
でき
what
ま
about
せ
the
ん。
people that never participated in that? Why should they be
壁の
punished?
外の人類の命を奪うことを防ぐことはできる。我々がただ何も知らずに世界の怒りを受け入れれば死ぬのは我々エルディア人だけで済むのです。
He sees Eren.
そして
Was it Eren that
私から
did
始祖の巨
this?
人を奪
Not
ったと
Grisha?
してもあなたでは
分かっている。私が始祖の力を使えないことはかねてより進撃の巨人の継承者は何者にも従うことがなかった。私にはその理由がわかる。この時のために皆がこの記憶に導かれた。進撃の巨人は未来の継承者の記憶をも覗き見ることができる。つまり未来を知ることが可能なのだ。
未来だと。
Eren knows everything that takes
どういう
place.
こと？
I called this
Eren.
from the beginning.
進撃の巨人の特性
From its future inheritors, so the
あなた
owl
がそ
could
れを
see
ご
about
存じ
it
ないことを
before
知っている。
Eren even
千のちぎり
inherited.
で始祖の力を完全に扱えないのは王家といえどあなたも同じそういう未来だと決まっている。逃げて！
he's gonna hold back, isn't he, because of the kids? Oh, fuck. He can't do it because of the kids. It's not gonna be him, is it? It's gonna be Eren that pushes him to do it.
私に子供を殺すことなど
Because he can see the memories of the future of every inheritor, which means he can see Eren.
医者だ。
Eren can speak with him in the present.
グリシャは確かに始祖を奪い、この一家を虐殺した。
It's gonna be Eren that does it.
過去が変わるわけだ。
Eren makes him do it because Eren has to inherit the attack titan to go on to do what he needs to do in the future. He needs Grisha to live, so he pushes Grisha to do it.
何をしてる？立てよ父さん。忘れたのか？何をしにここに来たのか。
That's when he knows that Eren's going to
犬
inherit
に
it.
食われた妹に報いるためだろう。復権派の仲間に、ダイナに、クルーガーに報いるために。進み続けるんだ。死んでも、死んだ後も。これは、父さんが始めた物語だろう。
Oh my fucking god, Eren!
殺した小さな子も潰したかまけねレイスケを殺したぞ父親以外はこれでいいのかエルディアはこれで本当に救われ
Eren's
るのか
coerced him from the future to do this. I suspected, but I didn't think it was like he was physically there or that the attack titan could actually see all the memories of the future inheritors of the attack titan.
本当にこれしか道はなか
My
ったの
mind is
か
blown.
そこにいるんだろうジークこの先お前の望みは叶わない叶うのはエレンの望みだ
何を言ってい
エレ
る。
ンの先の記憶を見た
That's how he knows about Zeke, because he can see Eren's memories in the future.
ジークお前なのかすまない私はひどい父親だったお前にずっと辛い思いをさせたジークお前を愛してるもっと一緒に遊んでやればよかった
父さん。
ジークエレンを止めてくれ
Oh, fuck. Oh, okay. They can't just leave it there. Come on. The fact that Grisha's pleading with him, like, there's nothing worse than what Eren's going to go to do, and you need to stop him because what I've seen he does is terrible. And there's me being like, is he doing this because of the memories he received from Ymir from the past to the present, and that's why he does everything that he goes on to do? But if that's the case, then wouldn't Grisha be able to see that? Because Grisha's able to see, or maybe not, because they can see the future memories of the inheritors, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'd be able to see what Eren inherited prior to becoming the attack titan. Or maybe it does, but surely then Grisha would be able to see that. I knew that Eren must have coerced Grisha somehow. That had to be a reason why Grisha goes on to do what he does, because it just didn't make sense in terms of the Grisha we see in Paradise. It makes sense in terms of the Grisha we see in Marley, but not the Grisha we see in Paradise. Things won't go your way. Only Eren will get what he wants. He's begging Zeke to stop him because he knows that regardless of whatever delusion of power that Zeke thinks he has over Eren, Eren's going to find a way to get out of it. And we see that with the way that Eren's able to force Zeke backwards from the memories. He's standing over him. Eren has something up his sleeve, but that's how he can see Zeke, is because he can see the memories of the future inheritor. So he knows that all this happens because he can see it all, meaning he can see right up until the end of Eren's life. So he's seeing this take place. So that's how he's able to recognize Zeke, and also how he's able to see Zeke here and now. How they're able to touch, I don't necessarily know. Again, timeline stuff confuses me. Somehow they're able to hug and touch one another. I don't know. But it looks as if Eren's coerced his father, but only shown him partial information. Because he says, why won't you show me everything? The wall being destroyed the day it happens. If Carla is safe, was this really the only way? So he's not shown his father everything. He's withheld information from him, basically saying that this is the only way to ensure that those within the walls are safe and that those within paradise are safe. But like, it's crazy. It's just, my mind's a bit like not quite sure how to like comprehend everything right now, because there's a lot of information thrown at us, especially the fact that Grisha never wanted to kill the kids. That wasn't his intention. He never wanted to kill these children. That was Eren. Eren coerced him into doing it, told him that this is what needs to be done to ensure Aldia is safe. This is what needs to be done to avenge the people that you have lost, to live up to what your initial mission was. If you want to avenge your sister, you have to do this. He's emotionally guilt tripping him into doing something he doesn't want to do, but for Eren's benefit, because Eren needs the founding titan to go on to do what he wants to do in the future. So he's pushed Grisha into doing this to gain the founding titan ability, because he needs the founding titan to do what he wants to do. But it makes complete sense because he's seeing Eren as an adult, and you're like, how is he seeing him? Because the attack titan has the ability to see all the future memories of the inheritor, but we also now know that the attack titan can only give partial memories, can withhold memories. Eren's withheld information from Grisha in order to manipulate him into doing what he wants him to do. Because I still think there's a connection between Ymir being a slave and Eren's drive for freedom for himself, but also for everyone in the world, has to be to do with Ymir, and Ymir being nothing more than a slave, because the desire for freedom is so intense that I think it has to come from memories of Ymir that she has passed down, this drive to free people, to not be in a cage, to condemn those that treat others like slaves, that entrap them. It's so intensely within him and has been since around the age of 9. He received the memories around that age too, from the present, because I'm still dying on that hill that those flashbacks in episode 1 were memories sent to him by Ymir from the past. She has reached out to Eren, and she's reached out to Eren for a reason, because she knows that Eren will do whatever it takes to ensure that Aldia is free, but also to free her from her confinement, from her being trapped by the royal blood. I'm glad that Zeke got to see his father in a new light, that he got to see his father not as the monster that he painted him to be, not as the monster that went on to kill innocent children for the sake of his own ambition, but actually understanding that it's Eren, that Eren has pulled strings and coerced this. So then it makes you wonder, what else has Eren coerced? What else has Eren done to ensure that he has the ability to move forward, to be free to move forward? What else has he committed to make sure that no one stands in his way to prevent him from achieving what needs to be done? Can glimpse into the memories of its future inheritor. Okay, so it doesn't know all the memories, it can just glimpse into the memories of its future inheritors, but it still sounds like Eren is withholding stuff, because Grisha's like, why won't you show me everything? Almost as if Grisha's attempting to see into the memories, but Eren is withholding them. He's preventing them. He's showing him partial information in order to ensure that Grisha knows enough to go on to get the founding titan, and to believe that it's in the best interest of saving the Aldean people, but not showing him what he doesn't need to know, or what happens to Carla, because if he knew that Carla was going to die, his focus would be on saving Carla. His focus wouldn't be on receiving the Founding Titan. So that's why Eren's not showing him what happens to Carla, because he needs Grisha to focus on this. He needs Grisha to think that this is the only option. This is the only way. Crafty, manipulative. What the fuck is going on? So now I'm like, have I been defending Eren for all the wrong reasons? I don't know. I don't know. Truthfully, I think I still am correct that there is an ulterior motive behind all of this. That he's doing all these horrible things that are terrible because he believes that it's the only way in order to save humanity, to save the Aldean people, that's what he truly believes. And everybody thinks it's terrible because they don't know the full picture. They don't know the full scale of why he's doing this. Again, I think the way the story is constructed and the way that we're seeing in this episode, especially with Grisha saying what Eren goes on to do is terrible, you need to stop him, and the way that it's showing Eren as this monster that was like this from birth, couldn't stand the idea of anyone enslaving people, so he took away their lives before they could do it. Again, he has been violent from birth, and he has been very diehard on taking out anyone who stands in his way or who is a threat to the idea of freedom. But we have also seen this caring, loving side to Eren. We've seen this compassionate side to Eren, this empathetic side to Eren. I have to wonder, is Eren also then being driven by memories of past inheritors? That's also contributing to why he does what he does. That pushes him to do what needs to be done in order to ensure the protection and safety of the people that he cares about and that he loves most in this world. I don't know, but again, I think just the way that the narrative is presented, it's meant to make us at this point in time go, Eren's a horrible person. Fuck Eren. What a horrible person. He's the worst. Let's just justify getting rid of him. He's the enemy. No one should support him. But I think that's the cleverness of writing an anti-hero, is you're meant to not be on their side. You're meant to condemn them. You're meant to think of them as this awful, heinous person. How dare they go on to do this? How can we ever sanction their actions? And then you find out that there's actually a bigger meaning to it, that they did what was best to protect people that no one else would do because it is so heinous, which is why they're an anti-hero. They don't do things the traditional heroic way where everyone is safe and everyone lives this peaceful, perfect life and no one dies, only the bad people die, whereas the anti-hero does what needs to be done to ensure the safety of the world or the safety of the people they love and care most about, but at the cost of innocent lives being slaughtered, at the cost of thousands of people dying. And that's why they're anti-heroes, that what they do brings about peace, but you're supposed to question at what cost. Are we supposed to agree with this? They're supposed to throw you into this spiral of questioning your own sense of morality because you don't want to align with what they've done, but at the same time, you can't see any other way for it to have happened. You can't see any other way out. They do what needs to be done that no one else will do because it's that bad, but they do it for heroic purposes. That's why narratives like these will usually try and make you think that an anti-hero is an antagonist, but they're not actually an antagonist. They actually turn out to be heroic in what they do, but their actions are morally reprehensible. But you don't see any other way that it could have been done differently. I hope that makes sense. But it's almost similar to Erwin. All the stuff that Erwin does, we don't necessarily agree with it because it results in so many people dying. But at the same time, you can't see any other way out. You can't see any other way for it to happen without that sacrifice, without that loss of life. So Erwin at times would also be seen as an anti-hero rather than a hero because what he does could be seen as morally reprehensible, but we can't see any other way, and he's the only one that is willing to take the responsibility for such actions, to push forward when no one else will, because they know that they have to live with the ramifications of this. And it's why Erwin's haunted by the memory of all the comrades he's lost and sacrificed to get where he is today. And likewise, Eren probably is also haunted by all the people that he's had to sacrifice in order to get where he is today. So Grisha's saying, in other words, the Attack Titan is able to know the future. It's able to know what happens, what is intended to happen. That means that Eren must have known that Hannes was going to die, Sasha was going to die, and that's why he laughs. He's not laughing because he's happy that they're dead. He's laughing almost apathetically, because no matter what he does, it doesn't change the future. No matter how hard he tries to protect the people he loves and cares about, he can't prevent their deaths from happening. It's almost as if he's laughing because he doesn't want it to happen, but he knows he can't prevent it from happening. It's almost like a state of apathy that he's in, that there's nothing that he can do to prevent it from taking action, from taking course. But it's also how the owl knows about Mikasa and Armin. Oh my god. Okay, so when the owl says you have to do this to ensure that Mikasa and Armin are safe, you have to do this to protect Mikasa and Armin, can he see Eren in the same way that Grisha can see Eren in this moment? Is he not talking to Grisha? Is he maybe talking to Eren? Because they can see the memories of its future inheritors. So what if he's not talking to Grisha in that moment? What if in that moment he's talking to Eren? Because he doesn't need to talk to Grisha to pass that memory on to Eren, because he already knows who's going to inherit the Attack Titan after Grisha. It's Eren. He can also see those memories, so he knows who Mikasa and Armin are. He's saying the names, and Grisha's like, who are these people? And he's like, oh, I don't really know. But he can see the memories of Eren. He knows that Eren was going to always inherit the Attack Titan. So what if he's effectively speaking to Eren in that moment? Not necessarily Grisha, because Eren's there. Eren's going back through the memories. Because if they can go into the memories of the future inheritors, what if they can go into the memories of the past? Possibly not. It could be that he is just locking into the memories of the future inheritor, which is Eren, and that he's just saying it aloud because they know what the future is going to hold, what Eren's going to go on to do. And he says it aloud and Grisha overhears him, and Eren's not actually there because Eren's not gone back into the memories. Or Eren is there and he's talking to Eren. But it could just be that he's able to see the future memories, see why Eren is driven to do what he's driven to do, and who he's doing it for, which is to protect Mikasa and Armin because he loves and cares for them. And that's his mission, that's his goal. And also that's what Grisha tells Eren. If you want to protect Mikasa and Armin, you have to inherit this. You have to go on and push forward. You need to do this. That's what he tells Eren. And Eren's like, wait, what? I'm confused. Because he knows what Eren goes on to do in the future. He knows that Eren is inheriting these abilities because he can see the next inheritor. He can see the memories of the future inheritor. But he also knows this because of the owl, because the owl also knew it was Eren. And those words he passes on to Grisha. Grisha passes those words on to Eren, to present Eren, who doesn't necessarily understand what's going on, because future Eren will understand the message. We were led by our memories all for this moment. So they've all been coerced into essentially handing down the Attack Titan to ensure that Eren uses it for his own means to an end. Because they know what the future is going to be. That everything's played out in this way. There's been no free will here. They've all just enacted what's destined to happen, essentially. They've had no free will because once they've inherited it, they know the future. They have to then just play the role that's expected of them, which is what Grisha was trying to prevent. Grisha's like, I can't kill these children. I'm a doctor. I save lives. I don't take lives. I can't do this. And it's future Eren who comes back into the memories that coerces him into doing it. That everything you've done up until this point has led to this moment, and you started this. So therefore you have to end this. You have to take these abilities so that I can go on and do what I need to do in the future. You started this story, and I'm just going to bring it to the close. I'm going to bring it to the end. I knew that whole I've always hated you, Mikasa, since we were children, was bullshit. Because the way that they're having that back and forth between each other when Eren's showing Zeke, I was never the meek victim or the coerced younger brother that you thought I was. Like, I'm not this doe-eyed little boy that's gonna look up at you with admiration and follow your lead because you're my big brother. Like, I've always been this way. I will get my own way, essentially. He's like, I have always fought for freedom. I have always fought against the enslavement of people. And in Eren's mind, the euthanization project is just another way to enslave the Aldean people. Because again, Zeke sits and listens to the words of Carl Fritz coming out of Frida and goes, me and him are on the same page. I agree with him. Eren doesn't believe that because Eren doesn't believe that anyone should die in ignorance. He doesn't believe that people should be trapped in a cage and made to repent for the sins of the past that they never participated in, let alone knew about, because their history was wiped for them. But even if it wasn't wiped for them, they weren't participants in it. They weren't contributors to it. They weren't the people that were committing these atrocities. So why should they be punished? Why should they be enslaved or abused and have their free will stripped from them? And the euthanization project, however way you phrase it, is a form of enslavement. It's a form of entrapment. It is preventing people from exercising their free will, which you gain from being born. You are special because you are born. Eren's comment of, I never should have been born, is because essentially Grisha should never have been here to have had children in the first place. But it's all led up to this point for a reason. Eren was born for a reason. There was a purpose to Eren's birth. It wasn't necessarily something that should have happened because technically Grisha should have stayed in Marley if Zeke had never turned him in. But everything seems to have played out in the way that it was ordained to play out to ensure that Eren receives the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan. It's played out because I think Ymir in the past knows what's happening and she wants Eren to be the one to bring everything to an end. She has chosen Eren. She has selected Eren. And that's why Eren had to be born. It's why everything had to be planned out in such a way to ensure Eren's birth. I was talking about Mikasa and then I went off on a tangent and I forgot to actually end that point. When Zeke is trying to move on to the next memory, Eren doesn't respond to him. He's focused on that moment of him and Mikasa where he gives her the scarf and they're bonding and he's got the flush on his cheeks and they form that unbreakable connection. He's such a liar saying that he hated her. He doesn't hate her because even now we're seeing him unable to pull away from that memory. That memory has significance to him. It has meaning to him. He cares deeply for her. Otherwise, he wouldn't be standing there watching it play out. But there's something weird with Eren's eyes. His eyes do the same thing that Frida's does. They almost go a different color and they have that same like frosted over look to them, almost as if someone else is operating. I don't know if it's just the artistic style having changed twice. His eyes change color. Like his eyes are sometimes really gray and then sometimes they're the blue green from series 1 and then sometimes they're just blue. Like it's weird. Like his eyes never stay a consistent color. It's the one thing I've kind of thought, oh, maybe it's just art style. Then sometimes they have that weird like frosted over tint to them that Frida has when her eyes go purple because it's somebody else acting through her body. It's somebody else taking control. It's the memories coming out through her. So it makes you wonder if that is the case, is somebody else enacting their will through Eren at times. That it's not always Eren that's in control, but somebody else's memories playing out through him too. I'm glad that Zeke got some form of closure though, and that he's able to see that as much as he wants to find some sort of bond with Eren through Grisha being this emotional abuser, he's not going to find it. That Eren is not the same as him. Eren is who he is because he was born that way, whereas Zeke was made to be who he is by Grisha. That's the fundamental differences between them. Eren was born this way and Zeke was made this way. And he's coming to that realization through the shock of not only witnessing what Eren did as a child, massacring the traffickers that had killed Mikasa's parents and were also going to traffic her, which I fundamentally agree with Eren doing. I know some people condemn me for that, but I fundamentally agree it was the right decision. But also the way in which he's shocked that Grisha isn't the one that makes the decision. He's always said that Grisha was the one that went on to kill those children, and he blamed Grisha for it. How could he go and kill those innocent children? What a disgusting, unforgivable act. And he's shocked when he realizes it's not Grisha that does it, it's Eren. Eren pushes Grisha to do it, emotionally manipulates him into doing it. And to finally have that moment where they can connect, where Grisha hugs him and apologizes to him and says, I should have been better to you. I should have been kinder to you. I love you, Zeke. I'm sorry. And just for Zeke to have that moment after hating Grisha and rightfully hating him, because let's be honest, he was abused by Grisha. He was mistreated by Grisha, and he's never been able to quite forgive him and get over that. But to have this moment where they can at least connect, where he can see that no, even after Zeke turning him in and Grisha going on to build another family, he never forgot Zeke and he never forgot Dina. He cared and loved for them, and he wanted to atone for what he did, and that's why he treated Eren the way that he did, is because he treated Eren the way that Zeke should have been treated. He learned from his mistakes. Just too late for poor Zeke. But to have Grisha acknowledge that and apologize to him must be healing for him in a way, because he had this image of his father as this monster, as somebody that would never atone for what he did because he was so horrible and heinous. He was this monster to Zeke, and Zeke is now realizing he's not actually the monster that I believe him to be. And Zeke comes to the understanding that Grisha did change and Grisha did learn, and he's not necessarily the monster that he's made him out to be in his head. He was a monster to him in his childhood. We can't dispute that. We can't say that Zeke's feelings aren't valid towards his father. Of course they are. But to see that Grisha does atone for it, does feel bad, must be somewhat healing, because Zeke is able to kind of gain a new perspective of Grisha that he was not able to gain prior, because he only ever saw Grisha as this monster. He saw Grisha as beyond forgiveness, so far gone that nothing Grisha could do would ever atone for the treatment that Zeke experienced as a child. And Zeke is now seeing that Grisha learned his lesson, Grisha atoned for the past, but also wasn't this heinous monster that he fully made him out to be, at least in Eren's life, because Eren isn't the victim. Eren was born that way. Zeke was made that way. He was a loving, caring father to Eren in a way that Zeke wished he was with him. And that kind of shifts his perspective somewhat to understanding that Grisha is not the monster he fully believed him to be. He may have been a monster to him in his childhood, but he wasn't a monster to Eren. And he also wasn't a monster in terms of being responsible for the deaths of the race children. He didn't kill them. It was Eren. Eren coerced him into doing it. Yes, it was Grisha that physically did it, but he was happy to submit his life to being killed by Frida. He couldn't bring himself to do it, and it's Eren that manipulates him into pushing forward. And if not for Eren, Grisha probably wouldn't have gone on to do it. Grisha would have probably allowed himself to die, and Eren would have never inherited the abilities that he has today. But that's why he forces Grisha to do it, because he knows that Grisha has to do this in order for him to get the Founding Titan and the Attack Titan, because he needs both of them to enact what he goes on to do in the future. Fucking hell. But just Zeke getting to see that Grisha never forgave himself for how he treated Zeke, that he wants to atone for it but knows that he can't atone for it, that it's too late to do so. Zeke must feel some sort of overwhelming emotion. He does, because he cries. He has that hug with Grisha, and it's almost healing that he can see that his father cared for him in his way. He just wasn't able to express it in Malay under the conditions that they were in. And I still think he's a monster for how he treated Zeke. But the Grisha we see in Paradise isn't the same Grisha. He has learned from the mistakes of the past. He has atoned. He has moved forwards. And I think it's good for Zeke to see that he wasn't forgotten just because Grisha goes on to have another son. He was still loved and cared for by Grisha to the extent that Grisha wishes he could take it back, that he could go back and change what he has done, that he can make up for the mistakes that he made when it came to Zeke. And for Zeke to go from hating his father to accepting the hug and crying, it must be soothing for him to know that he was never forgotten. He may not be able to ever fully forgive Grisha, but at least he knows that he still meant something to him and that Grisha would atone for it if given the chance. And it doesn't make up for the trauma, but at the same time, it does correct the narrative that Zeke has that Grisha goes on to become another monster in Eren's life, because that's not the case. He was a loving, caring father to Eren. And it's hard for him to accept because he thinks it's because he doesn't remember Zeke anymore that he pretends that Zeke doesn't exist, but it's not the case. He never forgot about Zeke. He always remembered Zeke and he cared for him and he loved him. He just wishes he could have atoned for it. And he accepts that what he put him through were cruel. And the fact that he says that he loves him and regrets not having spent more time with him is just heart-wrenching, because Zeke doesn't get to bask in that memory for much longer because Eren forces him out of it, pushes him out of that memory. So he doesn't get to stay in it. But it's just nice that they have that moment, that opportunity to find connection through space and time in a way that isn't allowed to them, because Grisha doesn't live for much longer after this event, because he passes these abilities on to Eren shortly after. It's just nice that somewhere in this universe they have a moment to reconnect, to find forgiveness to some extent, and to find a way to express their love and understanding of each other. Zeke doesn't get to tell Grisha that he loves him or even really have a proper conversation with him, but at least Grisha has that moment to apologize and to tell Zeke that he loves him and to almost ask for forgiveness. And to see it go from Eren condemning Zeke as somebody that is hellbent on destroying Aldia because of his daddy issues, because he doesn't want to enact his father's wishes because he resents and hates him so much, to them having a moment of reconciliation at the end is just so heartwarming and also so cruel, because they never actually get that in reality. They can only have it in this pocket of memories. They don't get to actually meet with one another again. But I think that's all I have to say for now. I probably have missed things to discuss on. This was a very heavy episode. There was a lot going on, a lot of information being thrown at us. So I do apologize if I have missed something. But for now, I think that's all I have to say. I'm going to go and watch episode 21 now. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!